Man! Hi. Okay, so, statistic fun time. Not really fun. Actually, kind of really sad. It's something I've been wanting to touch on lately, and it's been suicide rates. And only because I'm actually a survival, wow, Nasha. Survivor. I'm a survivor of suicide issues. I wanted to do a topic on this because I really wanted to talk about the issues with suicide, and I really wanted to talk about what we can do to fix it. So, with everything, as you know, a lot of people deal with a lot of depression, trauma, issues like that. We have people who have survived really abusive situations. Thank God for that. I actually have a very close friend who survived a really bad domestic abusive relationship to the point where she even unfortunately, she tried to help somebody else survive that same abusive relationship. They didn't want to listen, and the person ended up getting killed. So that's why I was like, I really wanted to talk about this and how important it is with women in general. Because the biggest issue with our suicide rates is that our suicide rates are coming from women, the massive amount. So in a men's prison, which could be the toughest place in the entire world, you have the isolation, you have the fear, you have the pain, you have the beatings, you have the no food, you have the abuse, basically, right? The taking away a person's human rights, right? So imagine a woman in a situation with an abusive man, and it's the exact same thing, except now we're not calling it prison, we're just calling it a household. So when a man goes to prison, though, these men are the tough ones, and a lot of them are in prison for domestic abusive situations, right? So they can only survive so long in there because they cannot withstand the pain, the trauma, the issues, the anger, the abuse. And so their suicide rates are very, very high versus a woman, right? So you have in men prison studies, according to ncbi.nlm.nih.gov, there are over 3,906 prison suicides, which 7% are women, and there are 2,607 men, so about 93%. So about a huge chunk of men end up killing themselves in prison, unfortunately. We also want to talk about veteran suicides if we're going to make the comparison. The ratio is much more still same, men to women, as you know, because men are more drafted than women, so you guys have way more responsibility than we do. So between the ages of 17 to 29 and 30 to 74, low stats in 2014 is the suicide rate with women. So about between 14 and the men were 161. That was on academiccoop.com. But the one that we're really trying to talk about is the domestic violence suicide. So you have women who are in situations where they are now the cookie cutter part of the household. They are the ones who make the children, they make the food, they're the porn stars. They're the ones supposed to get up every single day and find themselves and make themselves look beautiful so they can please the eye of their husband, right? So, according to NPR.com, in 2016-17, the suicide rate was, I want to say, it really wasn't that big. There was only like a 30% for women, and I think about like a 10-15% for men. I don't want you to quote wrong, but there was a 30% rise in the last 2 decades, though, for women. So in 2016, there was 21 boys and men out of 100,000 people took their own lives. 6 girls and women out of 100,000. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's not really a big rate, Nasha. So how are you saying it's the women? Well, see, that's not just the only statistic. We're only looking at 1 year. But let's look between 2000 and 2016. The increase was 21% for boys and men and 50% for girls and women. So they got those rates, and they said that they did notice a huge influx of suicide, even including in India, when women who were killing themselves because of the probably something that they're dealing with. And like I said before, I have been in an abusive situation to where I wanted to commit suicide, where I've attempted to commit suicide. And it's a very scary topic because, you know, you don't really look into what's important and what we're really not facing right now, because you're not looking at the weight that's handed onto a woman, because you're only looking at it in the context of, well, you know, maybe he hit her or maybe he punched her. But there's so much more that woman's dealing with, because you got women who are still stuck into abusive situations now, who are still getting beat, who are still not figuring out why they're still in the situation that they're in. And I mean, like I said, it's an understandable thing, unfortunately, but it's out there. It's a known factor, and it's just not something that we're talking about. And with women, I mean, there's so much on our plates as it is. We're mothers, and we're sisters, and we're aunts, and we're supposed to be caretakers. We're supposed to be the ones that mold and shape the children. We are the empathetic drive in a child's life. We're not supposed to be the overly strong one. We're supposed to be the one that gives them the admiration and the love that they desire and crave and need. And that's what's not happening, because we don't have the proper support partners. So we're getting into situations because we're really codependent on the need and the feeling of being with a partner. We're having these children, and a lot of these women are killing themselves because they feel like they can't reach the potential that a man is trying to put them under, unfortunately. But I wanted to address this situation because I know how hard it is for women to really kind of get their voices out there, because they're not supposed to be heard. Women, we're treated like hypersexual, not even objects. We're hypersexual objects who don't really know how to do anything without laying on our back. I know you all looking at me, giving me that look like, gosh, what the hell did you just call me an object? No. But that's just how I'm seeing, how we're seen. You know, like we're much more than our lips, we're much more than our breasts, we're much more than our ass. But don't tell the men that, because the men might freak out, and the men might be like, oh my gosh, a woman with a brain. That's amazing. So like, I really wanted to kind of tap into these issues, you know, and I wanted to talk about suicide, because, you know, suicide is probably like the worst thing anyone can ever want to talk about, especially taking your own life, because the mental issues that come with it. I'm going to be doing a show next week. It's going to be talking about also the autistic suicide rates that are going on right now. I'm actually really blown away. I'm a mother to an autistic child, and I'm a special needs teacher, so this really hurts me more than anything, because the average suicide rate of a autistic child is between the ages of 40 and 54. That's not long. That's young. That's incredibly young. They don't deserve that, but because the job opportunities aren't there and the sense of understanding isn't there, this is why we're having the issues that we're having right now. This is why people are killing themselves, because it's a society set up to let other people fail. It's a society set up to make the strongest win. It's evolution in the worst way possible, and we gotta change that. We're not building a community. We're building a hierarchy that everyone at the top reigns while everyone at the low tries to fight for scraps, and that's just not right at all. We are humans, individuals, and we deserve to have our voices heard. We don't deserve this stress and this monstrosity that we call life. We deserve anti-anxiety medication that happens to might have side effects to kill you. We don't deserve to have to deal with the way that the rules and everything are set up in society, because the way the rules are set up, it's set up that only a certain percent will win, and while the rest fail. Like, we will lick at your bootstraps while we try to figure out how we're going to make it on our own. There's so many adaptations to movies, books, and music about this situation, and we're just looking at it like it's ha-ha, hee-hee, because we don't want to stand up and fight a system that we think we can't fight. And that's a problem. Too many good people are dying because of anxiety and stress, because of a system that we face, because of the need to teach our daughter that she has to have a man in order to prosper and grow, instead of fixing her life around and making it for herself. We teach our sons that they have to be the rule, the patriarchy. They have to be the strength and the guidance, and that's why so many men are killing themselves in prison. Do you guys not understand how wrong this is all? It all is. It hurts. It's pain. It's things that doesn't need to be talked about, but unfortunately they're there because you don't want to talk about it. But when your cousin kills themselves, because they were abused and you chose to ignore it because it was just a fear that you had to address a situation that wasn't yours, you're going to get hurt. Either way, you're going to get hurt. Overall, you're going to get hurt. Everyone's going to get hurt. But it just needs to stop. All of this needs to stop. I don't really know what the domestic abuse rate of suicide is with men, but I do know men. I am in solidarity with you too. I do understand that you guys go through abuse from us women. Us women can be abusive as too. I mean, it's not impossible for us. Look at how some mothers abuse their children, and they create really bad children in the future. Or some mothers abuse their sexual prowess, and they make their daughters abuse their sexual prowess. Or they have their sons abuse their sexual prowess. And I don't just mean in like some type of weird, intimate way that they have with the child. I mean, what they imitate is what the child sees, and the child grows up and copies the same thing. It's a never-ending loop and effect to problems. And it needs to get fixed. There's so much insecurity, doubt, and fear, and anger, and hurt in this world because that's how we're teaching our children. The next generation is being taught this way. We are fear-mongering our children into believing that they cannot make anything without something else. They can't make anything without a dollar. They can't make anything without a mate. They can't make anything without consumption of food. We don't teach them that they have to have a strong mind. And maybe the suicide rates will go down. Maybe if we raise more empathetic people, maybe empathetic people will take over this government, and maybe we'll have a better community-driven type of leadership rather than an egotistical one. I want your guys to help me out. Also, ladies, I'm looking for brand new Paper Dollhouses representatives to help me push this show to its better level. I need therapists, actresses, and even models. I need anyone that's willing to have a voice, that's willing to help others get their voices. I want you guys to help me get this uprising going. Have a great day.